Hi, Tish.
Good morning, Facebook. This is the Blabbing for Britain team, myself, Peter and Stephen. We're the political wing of Blabbing for Britain. And we're here this morning to welcome you to the show and to discuss the results of the UK general election 2017. Good morning, Peter.
Morning.
And good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Stephen. Come on,
Now,
Peter. You're a bit more happy than that.
Yeah, come on. You've just been telling us that things have changed in Scotland for the better. So now a phrase I'm going to come up with is that certainly, I hope I'm speaking, well, we did not see that one coming. Because
it's amazing what you can do when you bribe people to get out there and vote, because they're going to wipe off student debt, yeah, and put wages up to £10 an hour. And when people run into their boss and say, "We're getting £10," he says, "I know, but I'm shutting down the business." You won't get it.
No, you cannot be an harbinger of doom today, Peter.
Come
because
on, calm down.
Yeah, listen, how many people do you employ? Do you employ
considered-
people? When Corbyn
Sorry?
comes in and says to me, "You're putting your wages up and we're going to do this," and I says, "Fine, hey, listen, I'm just shutting the door. Thank you very much. Put them on the dole queue, Mr. Corbyn. Look after them. Yeah, you look after them.
Sorry.
With a wife, I'll look
Sorry,
at it, and I'll go on the door and I'll sit back like this as well.
That's fair, Peter, but Mrs May is still Prime Minister.
Corbyn didn't get
Conservatives-
in, Peter.
The Conservatives are still the majority party.
Yeah.
And what happened overnight is that the runaway train that was supposed to happen 7 weeks ago got stopped in its tracks. It's still on the rails, but it's come up against some buffers.
Okay.
I'm using these analogies. Stephen, your thoughts?
What you've experienced over the last 7 weeks, or however long it was the most incompetent Tory campaign in history. And it was the worst Tory decision to actually go to the nation since the last one, the cock up over Brexit. So I was shocked to my core when we saw the exit poll, thinking, Christ almighty, the kids have actually come to the support of the country. Because it must be, I can't think who else it would be. Because
they're getting free sweeps, that's why.
They're not all at university.
Yeah, that's what they want. That's what they want from their political, from the political system. And Corbyn played a blinder. He took it from 20%, a 20% gap in the popularity, and he wiped it out in 6 weeks because of that woman. She was absolutely hopeless on the election during the election campaign. Didn't know how to answer a question. Said that black was white and white was red, and talking about and then telling a nurse whose pay they'd cut over the last 7 years that there wasn't a magic money tree to pay for her salary. It was beneath contempt. So they've got exactly what they deserved. I mean, that's just me being a little bit fruity about it, because my bloke round here didn't get in. He got beaten by a Tory. But she brought it on herself, and she deserves everything she gets from it. I'm sorry, but it's just tough. She shouldn't have. She deserved it. She deserved it. She deserved what's happened. Anyway, that's me, and I'm not going to do anything about it, because what can I do?
Well,
Peter, you got your operation next week.
Yeah, we're on about politics today, and I'm glad we've still got a National Health Service in Scotland. But when Nicola Sturgeon was asked, "Why don't you put the tax up?" Because you can, Nicola. You can put taxes up in Scotland. You've never done it, and take the money and put it into the Scottish National Health Service. She wouldn't do it. Now, let me tell you one thing. Scotland has changed. They've dropped by 22 MPs. Long-standing Alex Salmond the Angus Robertson, 16 years. They've both gone in their constituency. That's areas that are farmers and fishermen, and their indie ref has backfired meantime. People were sick fed up with this indie ref too, and that's probably why they moved on from that. So Scotland's had good results. We've got the Conservatives have gained more seats, and we will have a different government instead of a majority ruling SNP now, and we will solve the difference. So Ruth Davidson has played a blinder in Scotland. She's done really well in Scotland. So you've got to remember as well, but in Scotland, we didn't have that last rush of votes for teenagers wanting free university because we've already got free university in Scotland.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
but you've got Scottish Parliament, haven't you? Is that all SNP?
Well, it's a SNP, but was a SNP majority. It's an SNP majority there, but that's going to change now. And yeah.
They've still got 34 seats, haven't they? So they've still got an overall majority. That's 59 seats. They've got 34. So,
but this is for MPs in Westminster.
All right, sorry. Okay.
So that's them in there, and so it's changed. So it just shows you how things can change, and that was a lot of people wanting Brexit. To be honest with you, they've changed, especially the fishermen. But strange times. I just wish there had. We're going to have another general election. I don't think Mrs. May is going to. Now, what they need to do is learn how to use devices like we are using now. Big mistake. You've got to meet the people. If you can't go knocking in doors, wearing out your shoe leather, use modern technology. Use video like this and get on Facebook, meet the people, ask them questions, answer their questions. Mrs. May, you should have used modern technology. Get up with that's why Donald.
They won't use modern technology. I offered the services to the Lib Dems in Devisers, and they said, yes, of course we will. Of course we will. We'll do it before the election. We'll come live on Facebook before the election. Did they?
No, they didn't. I said exactly the same thing round here. I said, you must use Facebook. I mean, I won't say what Labour did round here on Facebook, but there's lots and lots to learn, and this streaming thing is so important. But will they take? Who knows?
Absolutely.
But you said there's going to be another election, Peter. Yeah, you're right, because the DUP are currently playing hardball with her, saying, "Well, we don't actually want to come into coalition with you, dear."
Yeah.
And that's just a negotiating term, and they're quite good at that. But even if she manages to get a deal to get the Queen's speech approved, the Tories will kick her out. Sure as eggs are eggs. She's a busted flush now in the party.
I think there'll be new leadership. Now, here's something. See, one of the DUP have said that one of the reasons we're going to coalition is if they keep the border open, right? Now, listen to this. Do you remember that atrocity the other week? Yes, of course you do.
Yeah.
One of those guys was refused entry to Britain. So what he done, he married somebody, a British woman in Ireland. He came over the border and made his way to Britain. How did that happen?
I don't know, Peter, but can we get back to the general election 2017 today?
Yeah, but that's part of it, because the DUP is part of it, because they want an open border.
I'm going to try and get a focus on this. Today's show is about general election results in 2017, and it's not a platform to go off on. So we're trying to get through the results.
Was I?
Yes. Not for the first time. Not for the first time. Right, okay, question from Claire. We can all answer this. I'm not excluding anybody. Do you think India Ref was linked to Brexit vote, and when Brexit happened, they switched back?
Well, let me answer that for you, Claire.
Yep.
My partner is a solid SNP supporter. Okay? But guess what? She was also sick of the indie ref getting brought up all the time. And I stood at a Conservative tent one day in the middle of the and a guy come up and he knew it was Conservative, but he signed, he says, I know you're Conservative standing here, but I'm signing it because I'm sick fed up of hearing indie ref. And he was a Labour supporter. So the indie ref has really, we're sick of it. That is one of the main reasons in Scotland that, in my view, many people have voted for the way they voted, especially in the northeast of Scotland. And that is why. So to answer to your question, you are absolutely right. Indie ref was linked to the Brexit vote yesterday.
Where does that leave Scotland now, though? Because you're saying that the indie ref issue is sorted probably for the next 10, 15 years. Is that what you're saying? That it's not going to happen? So
no, because looking at the political pundits through the night, I got up early and a question was put and they said, no, indie ref will still be on the table.
Really?
So so they're not going to give up on it.
But it's because they've lost 20 odd seats, which has to be a bit of a hint to them, which says, shut up about that.
Have you heard of Robert Bruce and the Spider?
Yeah, not for a while, no.
Right, when he was hiding in a cave, he watched a spider, and it was going up and down, and it kept coming up, and it goes up. It's basically like the spider, try and 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 try again. Every opportunity. So it's never going to go off the table.
I thought you said earlier that it was off the table.
Not as far as the SNP is concerned.
But as far as you're concerned, and it would appear that as far as the voters are concerned, it is.
Well, I think it's showing up in how many seats they lost last night.
Indeed, yeah, okay.
And we're back.
Hello, we're back.
We're back. I've lost all my photographs.
Yeah.
Sorry about that interruption. That was caused by... well, I don't know what it was caused by, but we're back.
It was caused by the engineer at the BA Systems pulling a plug.
we haven't talked about, and that is the utterly disgraceful, disgusting, pathetic, rotten media coverage from the scum and the Daily Hate, and I don't know what the word is for Daily Express, but did you see the sort of last couple of days having a go at Corbyn? And
it was disgusting.
They've got muck on their hands now, haven't they? Because, it didn't do any good. It didn't do any good. Can you imagine Murdoch now? He's going to be on the phone to Theresa saying, what the bloody hell are you playing that woman? He bankrolls them all. And Claire saying that the mainstream media has been diabolical. Yes, it has. But it hasn't bloody worked, has it? It hasn't worked.
Mainstream media is going to have to watch themselves for the future because you learn the truth by going on the internet and watching things live. That's going to be the future. No manipulation. There's no better than standing at a riot, watching it and filming it, because I've seen it. How's a riot going on in the mainstream? There wasn't much of a riot. Well, I've seen it in France.
I'll tell you what there was during this campaign. And if we look at how the campaigns were run, and first of all, let's go with the Labour campaign. And the style was set by Theresa May insofar as she went all presidential on us. And it was always, I want a greater majority, I will. So that set the tone. But Jeremy Corbyn was able to hold rallies throughout the UK and have huge audiences. It's reminiscent of Bernie in the States, isn't it? I mean, he was.
Yeah. And the thing is that they were talking about ideas. The Labour Party were talking about ideas. The Tories were stuck in celebrity, right at the bottom of the educational chain. You know, they were just slagging off. You had the buffoon Boris having a go at morning Naz, having a go at Jeremy right at the very beginning with a mug one. I mean, for Christ's sake, where's that? What does that do to the intellectual argument? Nothing. But as you said, Stephen, Corbyn was all about the ideas that his life has been sort of building to. So, it's got to be commended, mate. It's got to be commended.
I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to start putting our hands up, learn how to put your hands up when somebody attacks our country and said, if you don't do this, mate, we're going to bomb you. And this is all we can do. Keep your hands up like that.
You're on a different tack to us, Peter, because we're trying our best to actually sort of talk about the fact that we did not see this coming. I mean, we've been on air. Stephen and I started the show 7 weeks ago, and we got on air, and there's a 20+% lead for Conservatives and Theresa May, and everybody's saying she'll get a 100-seat majority, and we're sat here saying, yes, she will. Yes, she will. And then even 4 weeks ago, we had the same feelings when we sort of said, what do you think is going to happen? The three of us said it's going to be a Conservative majority.
Mm-hmm. Still is, but not big enough.
Right, okay, but it's not the 100, and it's not an overall majority. That's the problem.
No.
But I do think that the thing that hits out from this is that people are fed up of listening to doom. They're fed up of listening to people slag each other off.
Yeah.
I think MacDonald put this right last night when he said that the campaign focused on people want hope. That's all we ask for. We know we're not going to get it right, but at least if we're looking at something which is a carrot, if you like, but it actually does motivate people to actually focus on what's better than what's worse. And focusing on the crap in life never works.
It's debating ideas for how we want to run the country, and of course that the Tories have been absolutely linked with austerity and the harm it's doing, and the fact that it's not working because the debt, depends how you measure it, the debt has gone up massively since the Tories have been in power, and that's. And McDonnell and Corbyn have managed to turn the narrative around to say that austerity isn't working. Another approach, while interest rates are so low, is to actually invest in education and the NHS. And by the way, privatise things. And Peter will jump on me now and say, you can't afford the 200 billion.
Oh, hey, no problem. What they do is they do what Gordon Brown does. Just take all our gold and sell it in the market as cheap as possible, like he done last time, and leave us with no backup.
Yeah, well...
Simples.
Hold on, son, hold on. The thing is that to privatise the railway, you just have to let the franchises go, because they're time limited. And it's not as if you're going to have to spend that money, whatever it costs, over the next 2 weeks. It's like a 10-year thing. So there's ways and means, and the water companies, another thing. You just acquire them over time, so it doesn't cost huge amount of money. And of course, we're all paying into it. So instead of the profits going to the hedge funds and what have you, the service gets maybe even cheaper. Who knows? But it's about ideas. It was about ideas, not about. I mean, do you know what? I don't think Corbyn insulted anybody at all. No. I really don't. And contrast that to every single one of the very. We didn't see Jeremy Hunt, did we, at all during the campaign? And that's not a surprise given what he's done to the NHS. So yeah, I mean, who knew it would be so successful an approach?
I don't think they did. I mean, when the exit poll came out last night, both Conservatives saying that's not our feeling, it's not going to go that way.
Yeah.
And Labour was saying we're not going to do so good. We don't believe it. Nobody believed it.
Because I was watching the BBC and Dimble Bob did his old announcement about the what do they call it? The
exit poll.
Exit polls.
Yeah.
And John McDonnell and that bloke Fallon.
Michael Fallon. Yeah.
They looked shell shocked. They really looked. What? This doesn't work. It's craziness. Jamie says he voted for Corbyn, not Labour. He believes he's a principled man and will do right for the many. Again, that presumes, Jamie, because of the ideas, I guess. Or is it actually because of the person or his ideas?
If you could make a further comment, Jamie, we'll discuss and display that too.
As well, if you want, mate.
I've got to say, my feeling today, since I listened to the radio at 6:30 this morning and discovered what the result might be, because we're not totally there yet, was one of relief and happiness. I'll tell you why. Because one, I don't believe in Theresa May's version of Brexit, and two, we're actually going to get a more balanced approach to running this country. It's not going to be right wing or left wing. It has to be down the middle.
Only if
we
have another general election before September.
Okay, I mean, that's an outside possibility, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
If nobody can get a workable majority. Because at the moment, we've got a situation where Conservatives have 316. Sinn Féin never attend Parliament, so that's 7 seats out of the way. So if she can come to an arrangement with the DUP in Ireland, she will have a majority of one. Two, thank you. But the problem is, and this is why she went to the country, not because of anything Labour were doing or anything that anybody else was doing, it's because in the Conservative Party, a number of people in the amongst the Conservative MPs don't agree with her. And if she put a vote out in Parliament, she's not guaranteed the win, even with a small majority. She can't rule the roost, can she?
Naz has just asked about what happened to UKIP, and I saw Farage on the telly this morning.
Yeah,
I mean, they're still giving him airtime, for God's sake. But Farage's party, Naz, tanked. They just got less than 2% of the vote, no MPs, and the fool that got, what's his name, Nuttall, lost his deposit in Lincolnshire, I think it was. And the worst thing from the Tory perspective was that they were expecting to pick up all the UKIP votes because the Tories are extreme now. But, sorry, just thought I'd get that in there. The UKIP votes went to both Tory and Labour, which has caused this. As Peter was saying earlier on, is what was the Brexit effect on this election? Well, that was very much it. UKIP are done. Although Farage did say come back and help out, which we all applaud, I guess. But what's it going to? What on earth are the Europeans thinking about this?
Oh, Mr. Juncker.
The 27 countries are saying, ooh, she's going to come here.
But don't forget, Brexit started. Brexit is here to stay. It's in.
2 weeks' time, the first meetings are going to take place, I guess, in Brussels. And
just on that, Europe has said that this makes things very difficult to get the negotiations started.
Of course they would. Of course they would. But
Sorry,
Yeah,
Stephen, carry on.
tell you what, just open the borders, let everybody in, claim their money, send it back to Bulgaria and all these places, and life will be fine. Yeah, well, you're terrorists and you come. Tighten up our bloody borders.
Peter, the Conservatives are still in power.
I know, but they're not going to get anything passed. Because every time they go for something, all the others will gang up against them and say, we're not letting you do it.
Oh,
And that's the type of, unless you give us this, and unless you give us that. Look at the Liberals. They went in, and it backfired on them. And your students, they let them down by saying what they were going to do. Went in with the Conservatives, and it was all over. And that's what's ruined them. They said going in with them was probably the worst thing they've ever done.
It's your own bloody fault. You set up this election. You set up this election on Brexit, and the country said, up yours. Remember that expression, up yours, the laws? And in 2 weeks' time, whoever's in charge of the Tories, or the trio of chaos, Davis, Fox and Johnson, start discussions with the Europeans. 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
What the hell? What are you going to do now, mate? You've got.
Well, we're going to have to negotiate or walk away. Same.
You might walk away. You think?
Well, they've said they're going to walk away if they can't get a good deal for the United Kingdom.
Are you walking away?
I'd have no choice with that. I've no say in it. They've said if they don't get a good deal for Britain, it's bye-bye. We'll just walk the door and shut and don't look back. And we'll do our own thing in the world. That's what they've said. Still the same position, I would think. Unless Theresa May's not here much longer, which I suspect may happen. Yeah.
We've had two elections that didn't need to be. Well, sorry, one vote, one election that didn't need to be. And we're electioned up to the eyeballs, and I hope we don't have another one.
We will.
Oh, right, okay. And Nazim's here. Right, okay, let's get the view from Italy. I'm going to drop down for a moment and bring up...
Sort my battery out.
Okay, right.
Where is he?
Good morning, Nazim.
Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you today?
In a very good mood. I mean, all things considered. As an outsider, obviously, I love to join. This is a special edition of Blabbing from Britain. Was this?
It is, yes. Yeah.
I was in Cardiff a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people there were hoping and they were counting on a comeback on Jeremy's part, which I think did occur. And I think, looking at it from an outsider, I think Theresa May did a couple of mistakes on her part. One example is the NHS Alzheimer's proposal, which the Tory party even, I think, did not like that at all. And these sort of little things, you know, people react to, and especially as what was being discussed before, is the austerity mode that the whole, not only Britain, the whole world is in right now, in which I think also here in Italy, people are a little bit fed up with.
Yeah, I take your point on that. I mean, it is a rejection, partial rejection of austerity.
It's a
people would point out.
It's a protest vote also, I think, in a sense. Yeah. Now, looking at it, difficult because obviously, as you gentlemen also know, yesterday there was a proposal in Parliament to set up an electoral vote, and that was rejected because here in Italy they still can't figure out what system to use to vote. So I'm in a country that does not have neither voice nor matter so much in regard to where we're located at. And I think Brexit, if you look at it, there is something about it that reflects also a rejection of the current EU policy, and which I think people in Europe are kind of fed up with also. So I think EU, with Macron coming into France, they're hoping, and Macron is pushing for some sort of reworking of what the concept of United Europe really is all about. But But this is their last.
Fed up
This is their last chance. So they better be very careful about what happens in the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, what are they fed up of? What precise item are they fed up of?
I think the fact that some countries did not even. I mean, Italy was elected to. There was no referendum. They didn't even let the people of Italy have a voice on if we want to be part of the EU or not. It was done. It was an automatic deal. Now, the stringent requirements, and I've read about this a little bit, that the EU imposes on all the joining countries is even worse than what the World Bank does for most third world nations around the world. So, you know, there's a level of requirements that seem a little bit, you know, outpaced with what is going on in the world. But obviously, you look at the case of Greece and you say, well, how can a country like Greece be part of the EU at the level of everybody else's? So to get all these balances, and the new proposals that are coming out is that there will be kind of like a Series A EU, a Series B EU, kind of like what you have in the Premier League or in soccer leagues around Europe, where you have the A series and the B series and stuff like that. Now, obviously, the EU is the main reason I think the EU was created. Obviously, it goes back to the historical vision of trying to avoid the spectrum of another world war, European continent.
You're breaking up, Nazim.
Yeah, I'm breaking up.
Oh boy. Well, sorry about that. So I think there's also this whole thing of everybody the fact that Germany and France, not so much France, but Germany is the leader in trying to impose what the EU should stand for, and that makes quite complicated issues between all the different countries. So, but that's my 2 cents on the EU. I do consider that I'm happy that Italy is part of the EU. I just don't see it would be a mess not being part of the EU. But at the same time, I don't see any progress on the part of Italy in advancing towards some sort of. We're all in a quagmire here of even trying to get an election. Pack and a system of voting. So it's a totally different, but as an outsider looking from Italy and from what Italians, I think they're a little bit surprised about the Brexit move and the impact that it has on Europe and the impact that it has on the UK. But also, I think a lot because of selfish reasons. You know, everybody looks at their own little garden and says, well, you know, what's beneficial for us and what's beneficial, you know. And it all boils down to that.
Naz, what's the reaction from the Italian press this morning to our election?
I haven't had a chance to check it, but there's if you look at the different papers that I tend to read, and I read La Repubblica and then the Corriere, they're all quite. There's a surprise factor in it because the polls were indicating yesterday afternoon that Theresa May was pretty much going to pull it through. And so they're working on the thing of surprise, 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 and they're pushing a lot for the news is very funded on the fact that Theresa May
lost you, mate.
That I asked that question as I joined. If you guys were wondering, will she resign? Will she not resign? I don't know.
She's got to. She's going to get kicked out by her party.
Gotcha. Now, where does this put the UK? In what position are I mean, as I just heard that you mentioned that there will be parliament elections, maybe probably again in September.
Yeah, it's just a prediction because if the DUP do come on board and support the Tories, there'll be conditions applied, and the DUP will be asking for things like soft Brexit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I've read about that. Yeah.
And that they will insist that we go for soft Brexit rather than hard Brexit. Well, when she tells them that she can't deliver soft Brexit because of the intransigence of our European partners, that's how she'll phrase it. Then it's game over. The DUP will walk away, and she'll be voting no confidence, that sort of thing, and then another general election will happen.
See,
what happened there? Who knows what happened?
Well, one of the things with the DUP, they're from Northern Ireland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jeremy Corbyn's a friend of the nationalists, right? And they could say to the DUP, do you know, we really need your help here because I could see the nationalists voting for maybe going to the whole of Ireland. Would you like that? And then they said, no, we wouldn't like that. And then they said, well, you better help us stay as a United Kingdom. No, that could be attacked. Because the nationalists was sitting there and saying to Jeremy, come on, let's make us a full Ireland. Get us in there, Jeremy. Do what you can. You helped us during the terrorist camp. Sorry?
Let's just say hello to Michelle and carry on, mate.
Oh, yeah, mate. They'll say, hey, listen, you helped us down the terrorist campaign. You brought us to Parliament. Get us in there and get us our independence. And that's what the DUP should be scared of.
Let me ask you a quick question, gentlemen, because obviously you guys have the pulse better on the situation than I do. Was the series of attacks that we've had in the last month and a half in the UK did they have a huge impact on this vote?
Yes, as far as getting tighter with terrorism, yeah. Theresa May, unfortunately, lost her as well as she lost the confidence of a lot of the police because she decreased the police numbers. And
yeah, I read about that. I read about it. She was criticized for that. Yeah. Yeah,
when she was Home Secretary, she let terrorists back into the country and let them in, and that didn't help either. You know, so that's played a part in it. And I thought that, you know, if they said they were going to tighten up, they would have got more votes for that. But obviously it didn't. So she lost the trust of a lot of the police.
Gotcha. She did that by not answering the questions that she was asked. You know, so many times she just would not answer the question. And so that allowed people to use the terrorist attacks and the U-turn that she did on social funding for social care funding. She just would not answer the question. And then then she wouldn't go to the debates, to these TV debates. She sent
I remember that. Yeah.
A woman called
All
these things were detrimental in the eyes of the electorate.
I've got to say, Nazim, sorry, that Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, he has changed politics as far as using social media. He's went to the people. He spoke to the people with using social media, and that has made a big difference in politics. Now, if you can't reach out to the people with the technology, etc., that we've got now, down at their level,
with the arrival of Trump, there has been a change in the approach to politics, in the sense that I think the team that is behind Trump is very anti-government, They want to mix things up, and they want to bring down this sort of Democrat-Republican system, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that during the whole of the campaign, we saw in the polls that, you know, the 20%. They ended up, I think the last poll reported by the Tory-leaning Daily Telegraph said that there was a 12% gap between Tories and Labour, and it just.
I saw that, and that's why yesterday afternoon I said, well, it's going to be quite difficult.
Yeah, but it's about it's not been mentioned yet, but the sort of the role of the polling organisations has once again proven to be useless. No guide to what and they're never a predictive thing, are they? They just sort of say, as of this moment, this is the support, and the extrapolation from the polls is just what we do as humans. But it's with all the youngsters coming on board and voting in great numbers, it just skewed the way that the pollsters do their.
I totally agree with you, because in Cardiff, I was there for a wedding. I had the opportunity of meeting some young people and discussing the elections.
You lost your Nazim again.
Gone. No, gone.
Can't hear you now. Is he there? Oh, he's gone.
Yeah,
Right, okay, I'll let Nazim sort himself out. But it was good to get a view from outside the UK as to what's happened. And I just want to point out, because I noticed last night, because watching the election results before that, one of the newspapers actually published an exit poll at 9 o'clock.
What?
How can you do that?
They shouldn't do that. I thought it was illegal because you're not supposed to report on politics until the end of voting. So I can imagine that.
What paper was that?
I'm going to have to check back on my feed on Facebook to try and find it. I don't think I saved it there. So I'm trying to find things on Facebook. It's still, despite the election result, it's still difficult. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, just a short recap. That no overall majority. Conservatives have 316 seats. Labour 261. Last time I looked. I'm just going to drop down for a moment and just bring up some photos of the night and feature them on screen, just so that we've got it in the recording. So forgive me for a moment. Sorry?
Do we go off or do you?
No, I can just drop myself down and I bring the picture up. Okay?
Yep. And we'll make comments.
Oh, yes, please. That would be good. That would be good. Just let me organise this. The first one is that under Jeremy Corbyn, last night was the sort of biggest increase in. Well, I'll show you the photo.
Right. Could you put that big screen, please? Put it big screen. If you can. Solo. Can you do it solo? No. Right. Labour share the vote more than any other leader in the election. Labour. Biggest vote share increase since 1945. It's a big screen for Facebook news. Well, there you go. That's the importance of getting people. Hey, shouldn't we really bring in that you should vote when you're 18 compulsory? 16. Or whatever.
Yeah, can you imagine what voting at 16?
Yeah.
Jeremy doing? Jeremy Corbyn at Labour HQ arriving to scenes of jubilation.
Yeah. I noticed Diane Abbott was out and about. She not there behind him, no?
Who?
Yes. She was. Diane Abbott was out and about. She was out and about. She was out in a big limo, doing a big car, doing things, you know. And Corbyn in general. Well, there you go. We'll keep the red flag flying high. Oh, flying high. That red flag flying high. Oh, Mr. Putin will be absolutely delighted that he's getting stuck in there, you know. So, and how's Theresa? No, Theresa, is this you coming out to meet the people? That was your biggest mistake.
She ain't coming out to meet the people.
Biggest mistake. You've got to go with the flow now. If they invite you onto a programme, you've got to go and fight your corner. Lesson learned from that. Because if you go against the flow, Theresa, they won't. That was a big mistake not going on that TV programme, whether you liked it or not. So things have got to change, PR-wise.
Oh, that's Devizes. He's showing us Devizes, Pete, at the moment, where he lives.
Yeah, Clare, 31,000. Yes, they must have money in that area.
Well, actually, it's Wiltshire. It's Wiltshire. Claire Perry, against the trend, increased. She had 50% of the vote in Wiltshire. She's now got 62%.
Has Wiltshire got an army military presence?
Right. It's got.
It's
army bases everywhere. Yeah, large military presence.
Yeah.
But she increased the majority. She now got 62% of the vote. UKIP disappeared entirely. Labour took second place, and they had an increase of 5% of the vote. And the Lib Dems, thanks to the leafleting that Angelica and I did, got an extra 1.2%. but not enough to make any difference. But I'm just happy for the Lib Dem candidate. They did increase the percentage of the votes. There was no way he was going to win. This is a Conservative area.
Did you see that Nick Clegg has been booted out?
Yeah,
I did, yeah.
What happened there?
Students. It must have been students.
Yeah. Labour took second in Solihull. Yeah.
Oh, we haven't spoken to John, have we?
Ah, well, it was John. John's coming.
Is that John then?
Lib Dems coming. I take it did the Tories win in Solihull then?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes.
Labour second, Lib Dems third. Well.
I'll tell you what. If you was to ask me, what do you, in one word, what do you feel after this? My word would be frustrated.
Now that's the feeling that I had before yesterday, because we're in a situation. If Theresa had got 120 seats, we'd have been stuffed.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think we're still stuffed, but just in a different way.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying we're out of the woods. I'm just saying that we're now going to have a different approach, and I think that's the key. Is that there's going to be a different approach to all this, and it's good to have John here in text, if not in video. Yeah, I think that it's a wake up call.
Really?
Everybody. Well, certainly for the Tories, because they got it totally wrong. I mean, the Tory strategists got it wrong. Whoever devised the campaign plan.
Linton Crosby?
Yeah, that's the guy, yeah.
Who's he?
Yeah.
He's the mastermind behind the Tory campaign.
Yeah, he's American, isn't he? He's American.
Australian,
so
right, okay.
So what are they saying about him?
I can't swear on Blabbing for Britain.
No, we've got to keep it clean.
No, but why has his name came up?
Because he's the one who helped Cameron to win 2 years ago.
Right.
His strategy for the whole campaign, and there's a gang of 3 who worked with Theresa May, but they somethinged it all up.
Yeah. What surprises me about Theresa May, she comes from a family that her father was a regimental sergeant major.
Oh, he's a grandfather vicar.
Right, vicar, and I think her grandfather or something was a regimental sergeant major, which would bring her close to the people. Learning for the Conservatives, you must meet your constituents. You've got to get closer to your people.
Sorry, that's not going to help them, because their constituents are actually Theresa May's husband, the
venture capitalist,
hedge fund manager. You know, that's her audience.
Yeah,
it's the elite, it's the rich, it's the 5%. So what's the point of addressing your base? She's got to find a way of approaching everybody else. And with the way that Corbyn played a blinder with all those people, I mean, there's still 500,000 Labour Party members. So, you know, it's just, she's not going to get access to those people, apart from maybe TV. But I did think towards the end that all of us are probably just in our own little echo chamber. Because the only thing I see on Facebook and when I listen to Radio 4 Today program, I just tune out all of the stuff I don't like. On Facebook, I just get stuff that I like, and whoever's to do with the Conservatives, I just blank it because I don't want to hear about them. So we've got our own little echo chambers, and she just couldn't get through that. I don't think. You must be the same, Stephen, with what you see in your Facebook stream. You're not going to...
Oh, yeah. I see Lib Dem and Labour because we're our connection.
Yeah. I mean, and again, the Tories have spent an absolute fortune on those wraparound posters on the local press. And did you see the one from up north where it was front page and the bottom half was the advert for Theresa May, and at the top half of the front page there was an article on food banks.
Yeah,
You know, they were really stuffing her on that one, I tell you.
Well, Conservatives paid for the advert, front page, and that backfired. We're actually getting news in from Clare, which is good because Claire's watching the BBC site as well. Yeah. There is understanding between the Conservatives and the DUP now. So it's not a coalition, there's an understanding. So that's the first news of the day. And Claire's saying she did a lot of fact-checking and reading the MSM. Even got taken in by some of the news stories. Fake news is a problem, but big problem. But the real news is that the general election 2017 produced a surprise result, and the projected Tory majority has evaporated, and we have a hung parliament. And Claire is just saying that there's now an understanding between the Conservatives and the DUP.
Okay, so what does that mean? That they will have the majority if the DUP fall into line with them?
On a point, it's usually on a vote by vote basis, an issue by issue basis. So it's nothing formal, but they say that they won't vote him down, so to speak. But she's going to have to give away something there. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, if the Tory government say we're doing this, and it goes to the vote in Parliament, if the DUP vote with them and every MP votes the same way in Tory, they would need them to pass it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I would say is it's the closest, because the DUP are loyal to the Crown, and that would be the closest one for them to do a deal with you at this present time to get their majority through. And I think that would be the best coalition to go with just now, and also should maybe get one of them put into the government. Yeah, she can do that, can't she?
She can, but she won't. They won't do that. No. That's too formal. You're not going to give them a cabinet position or anything like that.
But they've done that with Nick Clegg.
But that was a formal coalition.
That was, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it did for the Lib Dems.
John's just put a good point up there, because you've got 300 odd Tory MPs. Here we go.
Yeah.
So just one non-supporting MP, and you know, they're not all the toffs. There's Ken Clark, for example. Did he get back in?
I haven't heard him being kicked out, so I'm going to presume so.
So she's doomed. She's doomed. And we will. John said earlier, and I said earlier, I reckon September before the next general election.
Interesting times.
Well, it is, because she's only got to lose 1 or 2 votes, and not only will her own party not have confidence, but it's on a knife edge, isn't it? We've not answered the question.
So the Tory whip has got a hard job then. Yeah. You'll be pulling everybody in and saying, I know you've been a naughty boy in the evening, so you better vote this way.
It's an impossible job. It's an impossible job.
Naz, thank you, Naz. We're all doomed.
Don't you maybe think it should be a new voting system, right?
Oh,
the first 3, and then they go 1, 2, 3, and they go Liberals, waste of time, get rid of them, and then just do it between the 2 of them. Wouldn't that be great? Wasted vote. You got to have a bit of humour, have you?
Claire's reinforcing the point that we're all making in a way. It's not all the party were voting with her anyway. Another reason she called the election to get a majority, so she could have a landslide majority and do whatever she wanted.
But it went well.
It did go spectacularly well. I mean, as I say, 7 weeks ago we agreed. We said, okay, we're all sat here and we said it's foregone conclusion, 100-seat majority for the Conservatives. Labour going to the ether, disappear entirely, and
And do you remember Blair got involved as well?
Oh,
He
yeah.
said,
Yeah.
Politics. I'm coming back, and not to the front line, but I'm coming back. And when he saw what was going on, he thought, "Oh, bugger this! I think I'll go away again."
I've got a feeling what will be happening just now. Jeremy Corbyn will be on a hotline to the Kremlin.
Oh.
And he'll say, we're nearly there. And he'll be going, do 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 do.
No,
It's
the American Congress that are investigating ties with Russia, not the British Parliament.
Yes.
No.
Wow.
No.
Yes, Naz, come into the come and have a drink, and we'll put Pete right for God's sake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear, what a state we're in.
Yeah.
But we'll muddle through. We always do.
Gee.
Just remember who caused it.
Tish.
Just remember who caused it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It was this lady, wasn't it? Theresa May. We've got many friends, and I can imagine the smile on the faces of Sue Butcher and Jane Hatton this morning when they woke up to the results, because they've campaigned for Labour. They've been out on the road like yourself, Stephen, and they were canvassing, and in London. So they did help make a difference in London, which is where the 10% swings were. Oh, just a minute. Hold the press. Just a minute. Never take that comment off. Just bring this one on. This is the real John Upton. And he says, I'm waiting for him to make allotments free on health grounds to save the NHS money. There's no better way to exercise, John, and I can see where you're coming from on that. And
I'll tell you, we're saying who brought this all on. The person that brought all this on was Mr. Farage. It's all going back to Brexit.
Oh, yeah.
And he's actually said on television this morning that he may come back. It was a one party. Since he left, it just fell apart. I think it would have been different if he had been there, but it just fell apart, like that party. But wow, yeah. So it's all back to Brexit, and
here's the good news. I don't know whether you watched the BBC coverage last night, but Mr. Farage was interviewed,
right?
And he said that Theresa had made a mess of it. I was going to say something else then. That she would have to go. And the fantastic news is, because UKIP did so well, he feels honour bound. Sorry, I was being sarcastic, Stephen. He feels honour bound to make a comeback into UK politics.
No.
Now, that could be linked to the fact that he will no longer be an MEP next year. So, so he's got to find a job.
He may have to form another party, another type of party. Not UKIP.
UKIP 2, or UKIP Revisited. UKIP The Return.
Completely different. Yeah, something completely different. Or maybe stand as an independent.
What can he stuff up next? I mean, what's left?
Oh, but I'm just saying that could happen.
Anything could happen, and probably will.
Yeah. Because things are changing. Incidentally, have you listened to the John Gaunt show yet?
No, we haven't. Go
It's called Talk to Me Radio. And it's a program that he runs at 4 o'clock every day. It's an app, and it's with the number 2. And he can see anything because it is not regulated by the broadcasting stuff. And he gets people from both sides on, and it can be quite funny at times and quite serious, and he can say what he wants because there's no. I mean, sometimes he's trying to stop the swearing and things that comes on, and it's quite interesting to listen to. And he gets a lot of big names on now, and I think he's actually going to be in like a video TV show that covers as well that he's bringing up. So, and that's what I'm saying. they're talking in that show about things the mainstream media would never put up.
Yeah,
So,
he's got license to.
Yeah,
and
so I challenge you to have a listen.
A live update from Clare. DUP meeting to discuss the understanding. It's not a done deal yet. So
yeah,
she's going to the palace at 12:30, apparently.
Okay.
By then.
Yes, and quite interesting. The DUP, I think, will save their skins to save their own skins. Yes, I think that.
Well, I mean, he was interviewed. The leader of DUP was interviewed last night, and he was in seventh heaven. He could see because he knew what was going to happen.
Right.
By that time, they decided it was going to be no overall majority, and his DUP are the only party that will speak to the Conservatives.
Yes, that's right, and he'll get what he wants.
Yeah, they had 8 MPs, they've now got 10. So,
listen to this. David Davis, our great Brexit secretary,
yeah,
to have said that the Conservatives losing their majority could amount to the party losing its mandate to take Britain out of the single market. That's going to please a lot of people.
Well, with him saying that, because he's leading negotiations, isn't he? Yeah. So, right, okay. Now, this comes to Angelica's theory of why we had this election. Have you heard Angelica's theory before?
No. Please tell us.
Angelica's theory of the general election and why it was called, why it was needed, is that Theresa May did not want to be known as the Prime Minister who led Britain out of Europe. So she called an election, worked out a plan how to lose it, and Theresa May will be out of the picture. She won't have to negotiate Brexit, and she will not be known as the person who led Britain out of the EU. So that's the conspiracy theory. Is it coming true? I don't know, but you can see the logic in that, but then you can see the logic in most conspiracies.
But you've got to remember, she voted to stay within Europe herself. But then she says, I'm a leader of a party, I've been forced into this, and the people have said they want a Brexit, and I will have to do the best for the country. And by doing that, I need to call election to make sure we get the majority, and it hasn't worked the way she wanted.
Yeah, in spades.
Yeah, indeed. And a question from Tish. Just out of curiosity, does anyone know what international female president or prime minister is loved by their people?
Well, it's not Merkel. They don't like her.
Sorry, no. I mean,
not everybody.
Let's go with John's point for a moment. And is Angelica acting as an agent for Angela Merkel? First of all, Angela Merkel is going for re-election for a 4th time, and she's going to get it. There's no doubt about that. She is the leader of Europe. Despite Macron coming on the scene, she is the one person who holds Europe together. And Germany is the country that drives the whole of the EU, whether we like it or not. I mean, this is fact. It's not fiction.
Too powerful.
And,
although I love the Germans, too powerful for one nation to rule all that people.
Yeah. And so do we know somebody who's loved by all the people? We know people who are loved by some of the people, but not all of the people. I don't think there's any politician loved by everybody. The best you can do is 51%, isn't it? 52%, sorry. 51.7%.
Have we got an answer to it? Is there someone that we don't know? Please tell.
Yeah. Tish, if somebody you feel is that, and Claire's saying the conspiracy theory, mess it up, realise Brexit doesn't work, and then say it's not a good idea. Well, see, Claire's thinking the same. Yeah, similar thing here. That right, okay, and we're talking about. Are we talking about Theresa or Angela Merkel? I think it's Angela Merkel we're talking about, because Nazim is saying she's a tough cookie and she likes her beer warm. Well, that is not Theresa May. It must be Angela Merkel.
So I think another mistake was that they never elected a leader that actually voted for Brexit within their party. Maybe that would have been a different ball. As if your heart's not in it.
So, well, who would you have picked instead?
I don't know.
Theoretically. Well, Boris Johnson flip-flopped, didn't he? So it can't be him.
Yeah.
David Davis?
Did he vote? Yeah, maybe him, Maybe him to lead it. But somebody that voted for Brexit should have really taken the lead and not be put there because they kind of had to.
Okay. I'm going to read this out and I'm going to pass it to you, Peter. I don't know of anyone that I can think of, this is from Tish, I don't know anyone that I can think of right off the top of my head, but personally, I do like Miss Merkel. But did the UK love Miss Margaret?
Margaret Thatcher?
Stephen, you get going in a minute.
Do you mean Margaret Thatcher, yes?
Oh, yes.
Oh, she should have been a man because that woman had balls. She would have taken on anybody. She would have sorted out the Middle East. Her and Ronald Reagan would have had none of it. Yeah? Hey, thanks to Ronald Reagan that the wall came down. So yeah, you needed tough people. And what happened to her? She got stabbed in the back by her own because she was too tough on them. Remember the spitting image, the vegetables? Yeah, she was too tough on it. And she would have, and if you look, and I loved it when it says those Europeans are weak. They are a fickle bunch. And Maggie would have sorted them out, that's for sure. I would have loved Maggie, but if Maggie had been here now, it would have been absolutely brilliant. She would have been out there. She would have debated. Yeah? She would.
No fear of anybody.
No.
From a debater's point of view. Yeah. No problem there. No problem there. Yeah. No, Peter. I'm going to pass this over to Stephen. Sorry, Stephen. The question that Tish asked: did everybody love Margaret Thatcher? The polite answer to that is that those that loved her, and those that didn't hated her. It was a Marmite situation. And she did rule with an iron fist. She did make changes to the country. She did change the way the country was unionised. She did good things, but she did a lot of bad things too. And it depends where you sat. But as a politician, you knew exactly what she stood for. This wasn't somebody who would say Remain and then say Brexit. She wouldn't have done that. She would have stuck by her principles. Right, I've calmed it down a bit, Stephen. Do you want to take a
do they say that every political career ends in failure? That's what I think they say that. And she made a spectacular, nearly swore, cock up of the poll tax, and that's what it did for her. So they all get so high and mighty. They believe their own internal voices, and then they do something stupid. And you call her the greatest PM we ever had. I disagree. I disagree. I couldn't stand the woman. Sorry. That's just
John's just said something. This is. Oh, John, he's just said 3 out of 4 blabbing for Britain has loved Maggie.
Yes.
No. John. That's quite a statement. We'll have to debate that next week.
Hello, Claire.
There's no debate. Oh, right. Okay. This is live news.
All right.
What do you think, Peter?
Well, he realises his party hasn't got anywhere, so he's resigned. He says, I couldn't do anything for the party. I couldn't even get one MP. I'm sorry, it's time for me to go. And that's the sort of man that says, can't do anything, move on, somebody else move on. I just wonder if that party will last now. Yeah, somebody mentioned Churchill there, by the way. Winston Churchill was voted the best Prime Minister ever.
He was also... Wasn't it kicked out after the war?
Yes. Yeah. He was, yes.
I mean, obviously I wasn't around then, but you sort of think that's a gratitude for you, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. Did you know at his funeral that all the cranes in the dockyards gave a salute, but the only way it done, because all the dockers, the Marxists, the communists, they says we're not doing it unless you pay us. Did you know that? They were paid to do it, otherwise they weren't doing it. There you go. Right. So he wasn't loved by he wasn't actually loved by all the population. That's why he wasn't in the next time.
Gentlemen, I have to just add in that I can't get any work done because this is one of my favorite editions of Black for Britain. I mean, I'm on the side here, and I had to come in because we're covering all angles. We're also even going internationally with Tish's question. I mean, it's fantastic. I love it. This has got to be one of my favorite shows on Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why? What have you liked about it?
I like the way that you guys banter back and forth in a very nice way. It's because we all have our different opinions, but it's very civil.
Oh, you haven't heard me then.
It's civil to the extent that we keep going to get overwrought.
Going back to Maggie Thatcher, I was actually watching it, and President Reagan phoned up and he says, Mrs. Thatcher, you know, with the Argentine situation, he says, don't you think that you should know gays? And she goes, President Reagan, if someone invaded Hawaii, would you have negotiated with them? Bang, there you go. And that's how she was. And that's why ex-servicemen my age loved Maggie Thatcher. You know, loved Maggie Thatcher.
And you bring up another good point in the sense that with Trump, we just have this flip-flop stuff that just one day he says something and then the other, and it's it's not straightforward and saying like, this is how we're going to do it. So he's the type of politician that worries me currently at this moment.
Yeah. So, interesting times.
But Paul, as you were saying, he is a tough guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've seen him in Aberdeen. He actually, I live where one of his golf courses is. And boy, at one mate time, him and Alex Salmon were best of mates. Round that, as soon as Alex Salmon said no to him, he was the devil. He was out there. He was gone. He wasn't his friend anymore. And one of the local councillors who said no to him, he actually lost his job because of Donald Trump. So he gets what he wants. And it's been quite funny looking at it, and I didn't like some of the things that happened there, but boy, Christ, he's a leader that knows what he wants. That's the problem.
Yeah, his tactics are pretty much straightforward. Now, gentlemen, not to go off subject, but since we are a little bit on the political. Do you guys think that all these hearings in Washington will have any sort of effect on the current government? I have my doubts.
It will eventually. I saw some of the hearing yesterday with Comey, and they didn't land the killer punch. They haven't got that yet, at least not in public. But
right.
Trump will be out by Christmas.
Really?
No.
I'm giving him 4 years, but he will not do 8.
He's draining the swamp. He knows that Comey was on the side of Clinton. And he's admitted that the meeting on the tarmac with, what do you call her, the Attorney General, and she says, when you do this, don't call it an investigation. Call it there was a word for it. You have to look it up. But it wasn't an investigation. It was sort of like one. Not an inquiry. Something, a matter, not an investigation. But anyway, back to British stuff.
Yeah, it was a side note, guys.
Yeah, sorry, no problem at all. But I'm kind of drained with it. I've been trying to. I didn't mean to get thrown off.
No, you didn't. Nazim is a good friend of ours,
yes.
of all of us, and he is an great broadcaster, and he knows the moment to join us, and he knows the moment to leave, so it's not a problem. Right, okay. I've got to say, my feeling is that while everything is muddled, I think we've won something back, and there's something that we've won back is hope. Your take, Stephen?
Well, hope for the future?
Yeah.
You're being rather optimistic there, aren't you?
I am. I'm an optimist, eternal optimist.
Because
okay.
We're living in a world of completely random events, and people do stupid things like calling elections for no bloody reason. And then they're surprised when the consequences of what they do. But why would you do it? Why do they do it? I just don't get it. I'm confused. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Trump thing yesterday, Comey thing, but at the very end of the evidence, they had the senator. I can't remember his name, but he was showing signs of advanced dementia. He was questioning Comey. I'm just trying to find it here now. But he was putting sentences together which shouldn't be put together.
Right.
And questioning, and so we got people doing random things, and how on earth we can deal with it, I don't know. I just don't know. It's all coffeefied.
Right. Okay. So there's hope in Wiltshire. Different. Peter, what's your thoughts? Closing thoughts on today?
I've got to say, from Scotland's point of view, there's going to be a change in politics. It's not going to be all dominated by one party. They've had a punch in the nose for their indie ref coming out all the time, and they suffered because of that, I would say. And they've also suffered in some areas because of the Brexit plans, wanting to stay in Europe. I think that's given them a punch in the nose as well in certain areas. Going back to Theresa May, she probably felt that she wasn't really elected when David Cameron sat down. So she's probably said, right, I've got once and for all, let them know that I'm the elected Prime Minister. And with that, I'll have to go because they took 4. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, Peter. Bye.
And then
there were two. I just want to share this photograph again because it does express overall what happened last night. It's a brilliant photo, and the man got his moment. He worked hard for it.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
We're not at the end of the story. We're at the beginning of a new chapter, aren't we?
Yes, it's going to be. You asked us what's the closing thing for me. It's how on earth is the Brexit thing going to go now? How on earth? How are we going to meet with them in 2 weeks' time with any authority or what's the plan? What's the plan now? So you talked about being optimistic. Christ, I'm not. I'm just thinking, what a mess! What a bloody mess! And that's John say, looks like he's singing. He is. He's singing. I don't know what he's.
Yeah, we've not had.
Better.
We've not had any solutions to our problems, but there have been seismic changes overnight that weren't expected. And I've lost Stephen. Don't know whether Stephen's coming back, so it's just me. Peter's got an empty seat. Stephen just disappeared. I think his battery went in or his power went. And Stephen's coming back good. That's better. Welcome back. No, okay, we're good. We're good. And there are a lot of questions that are going to be asked over the coming days and weeks. And we're in interesting times. And as Claire's saying, it's a Brexit mess. And that's for sure. That is for sure. But it's not a Theresa May Brexit.
No, she's out.
It's my prediction. And as I said, Michelle and Sue Butcher and Jane Hatton and Claire and myself are all a lot happier today. because we never 7 weeks ago we never expected this. Stephen, in your heart of hearts?
No, I was stunned last night at 10 p.m. and I was expecting it to be a one-party state for the next 5 years, but somehow Corbyn's pulled it out of the bag, and nice one, mate. It's a mess, you know.
Yeah, well, he's done a job. He's got his party back. His party can't get rid of him. Well, they'd be idiots if they did. He has brought out policies which would have been described as totally off the wall, but which have gripped people's imagination. And I'm glad it wasn't a landslide too, because that would have been. Yeah, I think
right.
we're
I suppose we better go now, haven't we? Because we've.
Well, I want to leave us with this note, which is from John. So everybody who's watched today, Stephen and I thank you, and we've no call to action today. This has just been our review of the political situation. Thank you for joining us, and I'm going to read this out. And this is from John, and it says, I just spoke to a friend on the phone. He says Corbyn's success is down to David Cameron's mum, telling him he needed to get a decent suit if he wanted to be taken seriously. Well, I think David Cameron's mum is quite right. He's now being taken seriously. His party take him seriously. The country will take him seriously. We're in interesting times. This has been a Blabbing for Britain special with Peter, Stephen and myself. We wish you all a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you again next Thursday with John. We're back to 4 people next Thursday. Take care, everybody. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And the notes and Clare and Tish, see you later. Bye.